What's up, guys? It's Forte. I haven't made a video in almost a year, and I have been kind of in a I don't know if I don't know if you say writer's block state. I just really haven't felt all that creative. I mean, the last video I made wasn't even a video that I made recently. It was me re-uploading a video that I made. Oh my gosh, 5 years ago now, and that's crazy to think about, but I don't know. I'm feeling kind of creative now, but I want to take a different approach. And I know I have no viewers and no subscribers, so I don't know why I'm even like talking about this. But I want to make videos not just about like PvP or with gaming clips anymore. I want to make videos, kind of journaling and documenting life because I feel like I've ran into a very concerning amount of people who are in my age range that are dealing with some very serious existential struggles. And I will be clear, I think I'm not saying that to say that I am better than anybody or to say that I have everything figured out, because I also am having a lot of very serious struggles myself. But I sympathize with people, and I really want to share that I have found some clarity for myself personally in some ways, but I'm also still struggling. I want people to know that they're not alone. And in our age demographic, so I would say mid Gen Z, because Gen Z is 1997 to 2002, I think. Mid Gen Z probably has it like the worst out of anyone, and I want to document my struggles and show that you are not alone and that we are in this together. And so I wrote not like a script, but a little list of things I want to talk about, and I'm gonna see if I can do this in one take. If I can't, and it's like jumbled mess that's hard to follow, then I don't know what I'll do. Maybe I'll write a full script. But yeah, so to be open about the things I struggle with, I'm going to talk about three things today that I feel like two of the three are extremely relatable for people in my age range. And so the first one is going to be poor posture. And that's not the one that I think is really relatable for a lot of people. I think having poor posture is actually probably something that's pretty rare. But it just happens to be something that I'm kind of cursed with. I'm 6'4", so I have a lot of stress going on my core muscles in my back. And when I was little, I didn't like exercise at all. I would skip gym class. I joined band so I wouldn't have to go to gym class. When I was in elementary school, I would like hide to not go. I hated exercise, and I've paid like hardcore for that because I have extremely weak core muscles and a very weak back. So it's very hard for me to stand up straight for long periods of time, and I kind of look like a giraffe. It's pretty bad. But so to talk about that, it makes me look unconfident and insecure, and I feel like assuming those kind of things about somebody is a bad thing. But I also feel like if we're going to be a realist, if somebody doesn't look confident in their stature, then a lot of people will assume things about you. And I'm a little bit self-conscious about it too, personally. Like when I was little, I didn't really have the self-awareness to see like how I look, but now it kind of feels like I pressed F5 and I see myself all the time. So yeah, I wish I stood up a little bit straighter. I wish I was a little bit more, you know, confident looking, because I feel like when I talk to people in person, my posture kind of sets the tone for the start of a conversation with a stranger. And so I'm working on that, not just so I can get rid of my fucking chronic pain with my back when I'm doing anything but sitting down, but I'm also doing it so that I can feel more confident in myself and I can appear more confident for other people. And what sucks about this is that it's a very very long, grueling, and difficult journey. I mean, working any kind of muscle is very difficult. But like, if you have weak arms, like that just means you can't really lift things. But if you have a weak back, weak core muscles, then just kind of like existing is a little bit more of a chore than it is for other people, and it's such a detrimental, or it's such a fundamental part of like the human, like, build, that it's something that I seriously, need to work on. It's also something that's going to be seriously difficult to improve. Here's what I'm doing, or here's what I'm trying to do. I want to do the main way that I've helped this is by swimming laps. I still don't like getting like super hot and sweaty and sticky. So swimming has always been my favorite form of exercise because I can kid in the water and be like, cooled. And I don't know, I just really like swimming. So I swim laps, and by being in the water, it like, kind of decompresses your spine, or like compresses your spine or something like that from the water weight and pressure. You're working your core muscles because you have to like kind of, remain flat when you're swimming. I don't know. It's helped my posture. Another thing I've been doing, not as much as I want to, but we all have things that we want to do better. Is doing sit-ups and like planks and bicycle kicks, that sort of thing. I don't do that a lot. I don't swim as much as I want to. I used to swim daily, but I had a really rough early part of this year, and I didn't really do much of that. So I'm really trying to get back into it. But yep, that's one of my biggest struggles, poor posture. It's something that's going to probably take years for me to have like serious, significant growth from. But that's okay. I was stupid when I was little, and so now I have to pay for it with it being more difficult now. But it's never too late, and so I'm going to continue to work on that, and hopefully I will be, I will have a little bit better posture in the future. The next thing I struggle with, and I feel like this is probably the one that a lot of people relate to most, is I have a different relationship with technology than I did when I was 17, so before the pandemic. I'm 24 now. I just turned 24, what is it, the 22nd? Yeah, I turned 24 a week ago. About a week ago. So here, I'm actually using my chair to try and like bolster having good posture. And, but yeah, back to the relationship with technology thing. When I was younger, before the pandemic, I had a very different relationship with technology because I wasn't an avid smartphone user. I had my smartphone, I had a phone back then, but I didn't really use it. I was in school. We're not allowed to use our phones, and I didn't really feel a desire to use it anyway because my relationship with technology was I get home, I play on my computer, I have fun, or I, hook up a game console, or I watch TV or something like that. But during the pandemic, something shifted with my relationship to technology because, before then I had a block of time that was guaranteed phone free going to school, right? So I didn't have a lot of time where I was alone and needed to fill the void with some kind of entertainment from a feed. And honestly, for the start of the pandemic, I wasn't even like that either because March 2020 came around, and to me it was like, I guess we're just gonna have a longer spring break. Sick. That's pretty cool, right? But what ended up happening, obviously, wasn't just a extended spring break. So for the first 3 months of that, it kind of felt like an early summer, like, oh yeah, I guess I have summer early. I treated it like summer. But after a while, like there's only so much of one thing you can do every day and not get bored of it. I got bored of playing games. I got bored of like making videos, which they're all deleted now because I'm an idiot and crashed out and deleted all my stuff. But I got bored of like, almost everything by the time that 2021 rolled around. And so what I started doing, oh my God, my chair just popped. That made me jump. What I started doing is I started just kind of laying in bed because I was depressed and bored and just scrolling through my feeds on stuff. And I had never done that before. My relationship with technology was something in here gave me the desire to use it for a specific purpose that I already had in mind. So I think the first example I can give of this is when I was really little, like 3 or 4 years old. I used to go to a physical therapy thing, and the lady who ran the practice, she had like a handheld Tetris game. If I edit this video, I'll put it on the screen. And I was very into Tetris because Tetris makes your mind work. And when you're 3 and 4 years old, something that makes you use your mind for the first time in your life is really engaging. But so when I started to use the internet, which was pretty quickly after that, probably while I was still 4 years old, I was told about things like Wikipedia and Google. That was like how my gateway to knowledge, and I was already able to read by that time to some degree. I was not able to read competently, but I was able to read enough to know I was looking at Tetris stuff. So my relationship since then and until the pandemic with technology was I have some kind of desire in my mind and I will fulfill it and I will use technology for that purpose. So I'm into Tetris stuff. I'm going to Google Tetris and play Tetris flash games on the web, or I'm going to Google Tetris and watch videos of somebody doing Tetris challenges to see the highest score, the score world record, or I'm gonna look at the Tetris flash site, which was fucking dope as shit, by the way, back in the day. That's another thing I'll probably make a rant video on someday in the future, is that websites have gotten really boring. But yeah, I think you get the picture. I had a reason to use the technology in mind, and I used the technology as an extension of myself. It's just a way to get more out of my brain. But when I was bored and just mindlessly scrolling, I created a habit that has changed my relationship with technology from being intentional and purposeful and productive to being a form of mindless consumption. And I take issue with that because it has destroyed my attention span and has wasted so much time in my life. It's not even like it's only been a thing for a very small percentage of my life, but it's wasted so much of my adult life that it's something I want to get a grasp on and work on. So I think the biggest culprit to making us mindless consumers of technology, and probably in my opinion, an irredeemable part of the innovation of capitalist technology, is engagement optimized algorithms. And the reason I feel that way is because, like, what is more mindless than letting the computer tell you what to watch, or what to do? And it's not even like just that. Like, it's not based on what you would be interested in. It's based on what'll keep you engaged. And to be sure, sometimes there's a correlation between those, but there's not always a correlation between those. It's like how news, outlets like Fox, for example, kind of just rage bait people, or don't even rage bait people, but also fearmonger people, because something that keeps you engaged is not always something you enjoy. I know so many people who are way older than me that are just glued to corporate news, like to Fox or CNN or MSNBC or anything like that, because they show them all this horrible shit on the screen all the time and play this extremely specific role in these people's lives, and they develop like kind of an addiction, like a FOMO to it. And I think the same thing happens with algorithms with technology, even if you're not watching something that's political or news or of any kind, is Google and all these enormous tech companies. They have hired people that are behavioral trait experts or psychologists or just people who are their job is to create the most addictive algorithm possible to keep you wasting as much of your time, to keep you consuming as much time as they can get away with. And that leads to content that isn't always enjoyable being something that you consume, because they can show you negative stuff. They can show you stuff that has you scared. They can show you stuff that you're not enjoying, and that can still be engaging. So the algorithm can still push slop. It can push shit that divides us. It can push hateful shit. It can push things that you were better off not coming into contact with that day. Another thing that I wanted to bring up that I forgot to bring up in my video originally, that I'm noticing while I kind of just skim through this and make sure that it's still legible and something that someone can follow, is that algorithms not only can divide us, make us more hateful, and show us stuff that is engaging but bad for our mental health or something that we don't want to watch, really. They're also optimized to some degree for not just engagement, but for monetization, for the maximum that you can get out of an advertiser. And in some ways, it has contributed to some of what YouTube is growing up and becoming less problematic for some people. But in other ways, it gives corporations control over your exposure to certain things, because we live in a society where so much of our daily exposure to what's going on around us comes from these social media platforms. So if something's not suitable for advertisers because it's against TOS or against their code of ethics, that's one thing. But if an advertiser, is not happy with some kind of content because it's controversial but not immoral, or because it's activist content that is against their agenda or what they want to accomplish, and they're spending money on advertising for, then they kind of have control of what you see, man. Like not only does the computer tell you what to watch, the computer also tells you what to see, like what you can see. And that's scary to me. I don't want companies controlling not only our lives through like the corrupt shit that they do and the lobbying with the government that they do to make our lives worse, but I don't want them to control my exposure to information and education. I don't want them to control what narrative is pushed to me. So, yeah, I just thought I'd bring that up. And so, while technology is, something that is absolutely 100% a positive in our lives because it makes our quality of living possible today, it also has the downside of being adversarial, because these platforms that we use have to make money, and they have to make more money and more money and more money. And in the world that we live in, innovation isn't always what's most profitable. Sometimes it's in shitification. And so we do this whole thing where we go around in circles and go from being intentional users of the technology that we pay for, to being the product, to being mindless consumers, to being zombies that just stare at our For You page all the time. And it just got worse with short form content, because now they're not just squeezing time out of us that we can be somewhat semi-aware we've wasted. Now we've watched 330-second reels and not realized that we wasted all that time, because it felt so quick, because we're just going through it at the speed of light, and we don't add up all that time. We just kind of look at it one block at a time. So, relationship with technology. My relationship with technology has changed. How do I fix that, and how do you fix that? Well, I don't know for sure how to fix it 100%. I do know the best thing for me is to just kind of completely cut out using my phone for anything besides a communication device. I'm not using it as a form of entertainment. I'm not getting on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or anything like that with my phone. If I want to engage in the act of consuming content via the internet, it will be in a designated space. It'll be, in the living room with a TV, or in this office with my computer, or on a laptop, sat down somewhere. It's not going to be something that I just pull out when I'm bored. Better yet, I can go into Google and disable all the stuff that makes it, or in YouTube, disable all the stuff that makes my data track so that I get a personalized algorithm and I could just check my subscriptions. But I think really the best way for me to get my intentional use of technology back is to just not use it unless I already have something in mind here. So an example of that is literally right now. I wanted to make this video. I've been wanting to make this video, so I got on my computer and I'm making the video. That's an intentional use of technology. One of the ways that I approach not using my phone as much and not being like addicted to my phone, I mean, it's not really an addiction, but it's a dependency at least on my phone, is by like just not having it on my person in certain scenarios. Like if I'm going to go out to eat with a coworker or like a friend or a family or like a date or something like that, honest to God, I just leave my phone in the car now. Like I just open my console because I don't want it just sitting in my like seat or something because I'm gonna smash the window and take it, right? But I will I'll just hide it and leave it there. I don't need it. I'm doing something. Why do I need something that is a temptation to waste my time? I don't. I already have something I'm spending my time on. So that's one of the ways I'm doing that. Another way that I'm really helping with my relationship with technology, and this is going to bleed over into the next thing I'm going to talk about in this video, is I'm trying to be okay with times where my brain can just slow down and be in an idle period. So before I go to bed every night, I will turn off all of the lights. I will take all of my technology and move it away from me, and I will sit in my stairwell, which is right there, and just kind of sit and stare off into the darkness because it's late, so there's no light. And I'll set a timer for 10 minutes, and I will just sit there and do nothing for 10 minutes, and that has really helped. It sounds crazy, but like once you can sort of start to just barely slow your brain down and like make your baseline a little bit less overstimulated, it starts to make it easier to do all these other things that change your relationship with technology. And one of the biggest things that I can get out of changing my relationship with technology is point 3. I have a bad attention span. And one of the reasons for that is because I haven't done anything that's really required my mind to just really lock in a very long time. The last time that I've done something in my life that I felt like was a cognitive challenge was when I was in school. And it wasn't a cognitive challenge because it was difficult. It was a cognitive challenge because I was locked into that. I didn't have a driver's license. I couldn't leave school. There's no such, it's compulsory education. So I had to, I had 8 hours that I had to do something with, and so I made the most of it. And I think that required me to kind of lock in. Like I had obligations that I wasn't just, gifted at fulfilling. So what that means is since I got out of school, which was 6 years ago, I haven't read a book. And I feel like that's something that a lot of people can say and agree with. I never really read outside of school when I was little. I don't know. I thought reading was lame, dude. Like, but I've noticed that, being in an American literature class when I was little gave me this like hour period where I slowed my mind down. I just read books, and it helped me feel, more in control of the silence. I think it made my mind more hyperactive, um, in the creative sense. It made it easier to live in here and not like go and grab something to spend my time with. So on top of um, algorithms fucking up your attention span, and for me personally, the lack of things that have required my attention span to slow down again being in my life, um, not doing anything that requires a slow attention span is also something that is probably one of the reasons that my attention span is bad. Along with short form content and the shift in how entertainment is designed nowadays, because they design it around your attention span being worse. Like there's shows and movies and stuff that are designed for people to kind of passively consume. Like while they're doom scrolling on their phone, they'll have something playing in the background, and that's how the art was orchestrated. That's how it was designed, and I hate that. I think that's terrible. But that's one of the things. So like consuming older media also helps with your attention span, which sounds crazy. Again, like we live in such a weird time. Like it's kind of exciting, but it's also dystopian as hell. So how am I going to fix my attention span? This video has gone on for way longer than I thought it was going to. Reading. I'm going to read a book. I actually will read a book. And hang on, I will be right back. Anthony Dewar, I think. I don't really remember how to pronounce his name. And I went to Barnes & Noble, and I bought a paperback book in 2026. And there were a lot of people there, actually. So I think this is a lot of people my age. I don't know if they were there for college, because I live in a college town. So maybe they're buying textbooks or something. I don't know. I think I have a hunch that this is kind of coming back. And I think a lot of people my age are coming to the same conclusion, that our relationship with our mind and with technology needs to change. But yeah, this is a really good book if you're into reading, or if you want to be into reading. I loved reading this back in the day, so I'm going to reread it. Hopefully I can, sort of start to work on fixing my attention span by doing that, alongside the, sitting in the darkness thing, and just trying to create a relationship with things that require your attention, where you give what's worth it attention, and you don't give what's not worth it attention. Another way I'm doing that is by disabling notifications on my phone. I used to always check Discord or Twitter or YouTube or anything that sends a notification to my phone. And I don't know, I kind of want to just live in the moment. If I'm on my computer, then I'm on my computer to do things on my computer, which could be playing games or talking to people on Discord. But I'm making a commitment to be in a place where I'm available to socialize with people over the internet. But if I'm just doing stuff in my everyday life, I don't need my phone to buzz if somebody sent me a message about something, Minecraft server related or something like that. Like I need my phone to buzz if it's something serious. And if there's somebody that I, know intimately enough that I want them to be able to bug me if something serious is happening, they have my actual phone number, so they can text me or call me. But yeah, no notifications, periods of, just nothingness that allow my mind to kind of slow down. I'm going to start reading again. I'm excited. It's going to be hard because right now, if I try to read stuff, my mind just kind of jumps all over the place. But we're going to keep trying until we get it. Changing my relationship with technology to be intentional, all that stuff. That's how I'm going to fix my attention span. And I think people are more capable when they have a more powerful attention span. That's probably not a good way to describe that, but yeah, like if you can only stay engaged to something for 30 seconds, how do you solve real problems? How do you solve it, pushing how do you solve, I don't remember the word for it, but how do you solve problems that are detrimental to society? Our generation has to have the ability to stay attentive to something long enough because we have some pretty serious existential problems in our lives. And so, yeah, that's I think that's everything I had to say, really. What I want out of my life is to be challenged, to solve challenging problems, and to feel satisfied from solving said challenging problems, and to make connections with other fellow human beings. So, anyway, that's all from me. This was Forte. I haven't made a video in almost a year. This is a very different video than the type of videos I usually make, but I'm glad I made it. So I hope you have a great rest of your day, and take care.